Creating a timer just like this in the free version and studio versions of Davinci Resolve 18. It's super quick and easy, so let me show you how to make it and how to customize it. So from the edit page within Davinci Resolve, the first thing you need to do, open up the effects library by clicking on effects, top left hand corner. Then within the toolbox, come to titles, and at the very top of titles, you want the bottom option here, the text plus. Grab the text plus and pop it on your timeline like so. Let's make that a little bit longer. Then we simply give that a click so it's highlighted in red on the timeline, and then open the inspector, top right hand corner. Make sure you're on the video, title, text tabs, which it should do by default, and then you'll see your text box here. To create the timer, simply right click within this box and then come down to time code, and that's it. If we now put my playhead at the beginning of this text plus on the timeline, hit play, we now have a real simple timer. We have hours, minutes, seconds, and then frames. Now this is adjustable, so we can make it as long or as short as we need to be. Quick tip though, if you need to make it longer, make sure you don't move the start of the text plus, because if you move that back, you'll end up in minus numbers. So you want to move the text plus where you want it, and then drag it from the right hand side to make it longer or shorter. And then we've got an automatic timer that does exactly what we want. See, super quick and easy. But what about if you want to customize it? Well, this is a standard text plus, so you can adjust the font, the color, the size in exactly the same way you usually would. So with the text plus selected in the inspector, scroll down and we've got things like font, so we can change the font, we can change the color, the size, the tracking, the spacing, all that sort of stuff. If you go to the layout tab, you can then change the position of the X and Y to get it in exactly the place that you want it. There's also size, and there's loads of rotation controls and other controls within there. Here's a real quick tip for you. If you've chosen a font which does this, it sort of jitters, has a jittery sort of effect. That's because your font changes size as the numbers change. So certain numbers are wider than others, which gives you this jittery sort of effect. To fix that, scroll down until you get to this H anchor, and then click on the leftmost icon. That will justify it over to the left-hand side. So now if we hit play, there's no jittering whatsoever. You will need to just change the layout to bring it back into the center. But now, as you can see, it's playing through super smooth. See? Easy. But what about if you want to turn off the hours, the minutes, the seconds, or the frames? Well, you can do that too, but you do need to hop into Fusion. Don't worry though, that's really easy as well. All you need to do, from the edit page, make sure you've got your text plus still selected. In the inspector, you've got this sort of magic wand icon in the top right hand corner. Give that a click and that should take you directly into Fusion. You should see your timer in the preview window. If for whatever reason you don't see the timer, just jump back to the edit page and click that icon again and it should work. Sometimes it can do slightly odd things and not work first time round. So how do you turn off these hours and minutes? Well, make sure you've got the inspector open as I have here, and we can see all of the standard text plus controls. At the very top, we have modifiers. Give that a click, and then we have some time code controls within here. If we simply untick hours, it will get rid of the hours. We can untick minutes, seconds, and then just have the frames, or tick any others that we want. So I'm just going to go with minutes, seconds, and frames. So if we hit play, job done. Now you've also got frames per second down here. This will pull through automatically from your project settings, but you can adjust it manually if you want to, but that will of course affect the timing. You've then also got start offset. So at the moment, my timer starts from 0, but if I wanted it to start further ahead, I can increase this. Now, a quick note, this is in frames, so you need to do some maths. If I wanted this to start at 2 seconds, for example, my frames per second is 25, so my start offset would be 50, and now it starts at 2 seconds. Here's a bonus Fusion tip for those interested. If you wanted to be super clever and you didn't want to have to do the maths yourself, right-click on the word Start Offset and come down to Expression, then grab this little plus icon and drag it to the frames per second, and it'll pull through your frames per second, and then simply do a multiplied by, and then however many seconds you want. So if I wanted this to start at 12 seconds, I could type in 12, and now it's going to start at 12. If I wanted it to be 20, I could do 20, and it'll automatically do the maths for us. There you go, just a quick bonus expression tip. Awesome. So we've customized it and we've got it looking exactly as we want it. But what if we wanted to either slow it down or speed it up because we were doing maybe a time lapse or something like that. Well, you can do that too, but you need to go back to the edit page and you need to do this using a compound clip. If you've never heard of compound clips, I've made a whole video about those in the past, so go check that out. But for now, let's jump back onto the edit page and I'll show you what you need to do. So I'm just going to reset my timer really quick because I want it to start back from 0 once again. So I'm going to right click on Start Offset, remove the expression, and then double click on Start Offset to go back to 0. So we've reset our timer. Now let's jump back over to the edit page. And my timer is timing me going down this mountain bike run. So the first thing I want to do is to make sure my timer is the same length as my footage, like so. So then it's timing me all the way down to the bottom. Now, as you can see, currently it is all going in real time. But let's say I don't want this to take 2 minutes. I want to speed everything up. Well, what you need to do is highlight both of the things on your timeline. So my main footage and my timer. Then we can right click and we're going to New Compound Clip. Give this a name. I'm going to go with Bikey Run and then hit Create. And that's going to package the actual footage and the timer into one thing on your timeline. Then really simply, give it a click on your timeline, open up the inspector, scroll down to speed change, and then you have your speed change controls within here. So I'm going to set this to be 200%. And now if we hit play, the timer and the footage are all running at 200%. So everything's still in sync, but we've sped it up. If you need to get into this compound clip to make any changes to the location of the timer, for example, you simply right click on the compound clip on your timeline and go to Open in Timeline. This will open up that box, that compound clip. Then you can select the text plus. Let's just change the layout to put this down at the bottom somewhere, like so. Then at the very bottom of your screen, you'll see Timeline 1 and then the name of your compound clip. We can just double click on the Timeline 1 to go back to our main timeline. And now our timer has changed, but everything is still running at the 2x speed. We can change this as much as we like. We could increase this to 500 or we could increase it to 50% to run slow motion, whatever we wanted to do. Easy. Now, last but not least, what if you want that timer to run backwards? Well, it's essentially doing the same thing. You do have to use a compound clip, but it is, once again, quick, simple, and easy. So for this one, we're actually just going to create another timer. So I'm going to grab my text plus, put it on my timeline, give it a click in the inspector, right click within the text box, and we're going to go to time code. We'll move my playhead, and there we go. If you want to make this a very particular length, which you probably do for a countdown, simply right click on the text plus on the timeline, and you can click on change clip duration, or there's a keyboard shortcut of Control and D. From here, you can set the actual duration. So let's say I want mine to be 30 seconds. We'll pop 30 in there, hit change, and we know it's going to be exactly 30 seconds long. So now to reverse it, we need to create a compound clip once again. Right click the text plus on the timeline, then go to New Compound Clip. I'm just going to call this one Reverse and Create. Now we have a compound clip which just counts from 0 to 30, but now it's a compound. Once again, we can go into the speed change area and we can change the direction from forward facing to backwards facing, this middle icon here. Now it's playing backwards and it's going to go from 30 and count down all the way to 0. We can't make this any longer currently because it's only 30 seconds long, but once again, if we want to make any changes to that timer, we can right click, open in the timeline to get access to the actual text plus. Let's make this a little bit longer. Then we can drill back to our timeline, make this longer. Now because it's reversed, we make sure to drag from the left-hand side rather than the right-hand side. And now we have a longer timer, which counts all the way back. And there you go. Now, if you want to save these timers to the effects library so that they're ready to go every single time, watch this video up here where I show you how to save effects to the effects library. Awesome. Thanks for watching though. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.